live, and it is 6 o'clock now. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Well, I hope during this difficult season, these weekly live streams can be a source of encouragement to you and your faith, that they will be a reminder of what is most important and help you have and maintain a healthy perspective during this time. And today, as we continue in our series, Thrive, Make Good Decisions, I want to talk with you about a very important principle that I am calling consider the end. Consider the end. There are two basic premises on which this principle is built. The first is that your life is profoundly meaningful. It matters and it is significant. The second premise is that your life as you know it does have an expiration date. This isn't merely true of your life big picture, but it is also true of each and every season of your life. As crazy as it might sound to those of you who are in it, middle school will not last forever. Neither will high school, or neither will the season of your life where you're investing in your career, or even this season of the coronavirus pandemic. Sometimes it feels like it might. In fact, the other day, my 5-year-old, after having a FaceTime tea party with her friend, was just just really crying. And she said something along the lines of, "Daddy, this is going to last for 100,000 million days." No, I don't think so. This season does feel like it's going to be longer than we maybe expected at first, but it will end. And when it does, what kinds of things will you wish you had done? What kind of person do you want to be? I want you to consider the end. Moses, praying to God, as recorded in Psalm 90:12, says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." A paraphrase of this verse could read, "God, help me to remember that the time I have on this planet is a limited resource. Living with the end in mind leads to wise decision making." This is true big picture of your life as a whole, but this is also true about the stages of life that can range from days to decades. It is helpful to envision every season and how you want to be at the end of that season and what kinds of things you would like to have accomplished when that season concludes. Maybe you're a freshman in high school. And you say, by the end of high school, I want to have a 3.75 GPA so I can get into the school that I want to attend. I want to be a part of the National Honor Society or Fellowship of Christian Athletes and make a difference on my school campus. And these would be good dreams to dream. But it isn't enough to dream good dreams. You must pursue making those dreams a reality. You need to start living in light of those dreams. You have those dreams, and then you work backwards. You study hard. You apply to be an officer with FCA. You show up and you plan meetings. You do the kinds of things that could facilitate your dream actually becoming true. You then repeat this process for every area and every season of life. You do this for your spiritual life and your walk with Jesus. You have an idea of where you want to be, and then you think through, what are the things I need to do to get there? You think about that in your friendships and in your dating relationships and career and marriage as you get older, and kids and finances. You picture these climactic scenes of what it would look like if this thing turned out exactly as I hope and pray it will. And you work backwards to give yourself the best shot at making those dreams become realities. One of my favorite writers, Donald Miller, illustrates how considering the end can play out very practically in his book Storyline. And I just want to read to you a conversation that he recounts in this book. So just hang tight and listen to this conversation. He writes this: I have a friend in her 20s, for example, who recently quit her job to take a few months off to travel in Brazil. She had another job lined up when she came back to Portland, but knowing she'd likely be settling down when she returned, wanted one last hurrah. She stopped by the house and told me her plan, and I sat across from her a little worried. She's like a little sister, honestly, and as I listened, I wondered whether or not her plans were slightly reckless. She wasn't sure exactly where she'd stay or who she'd be traveling with, and to be honest, she's a very pretty girl, and I'd heard guys in Brazil could come on strong. Perhaps I was being overprotective, but the idea of one last hurrah didn't sit well. I wasn't her father, and so I kept my mouth shut about my concerns. Besides that, she's a good girl, a smart girl who loves God and wants to honor him. At the same time, I remember being in my 20s and loving God, and I still made a ton of mistakes. I wondered how to help her understand the importance of having some boundaries as she went off on her last youthful escapade. And then she threw me a softball. You've had a lot of adventures, Don, she said. Any advice for getting the most out of my time in Brazil? As a matter of fact, I did have some advice. And you'd be proud because I didn't come off as preachy. Instead of listing a bunch of rules, I helped her imagine a climactic scene. I knew a climactic scene had the ability to create a powerful decision filter. I asked her if she wanted to get married someday, and she said she did. And I asked if she wanted to have kids, and she said she did. And even though all that seemed like it would be a million years away, the truth is she was 25, and there was a good chance a husband and kids were around the corner. She agreed this was a possibility and smiled and crossed one of her legs under the other to sit up straighter on the couch. Okay, I said. At some point in the next 5 years or so, a scene will likely unfold. You'll be in a hospital somewhere, and your husband will be standing next to you, and you guys will have just had your first child. There's no guarantee, but the odds are with you, right? I suppose, she said, smiling a little bigger. And there you are, I continued, holding your baby, and you'll be in love with your husband, and your baby will be beautiful, and you'll be doing all the things that young couples do as they start their family. And this scene marks the end of a story, really. It marks the end of your youth, and after this scene, you'll be entering into another story that is just as exciting, but different. This would be the climactic scene of your teens and 20s, and after this, everything changes. All that sounds good, she said. I mean, it sounds good 5 years from now. I want all that, but Don, what does that have to do with my time in Brazil? Well, here's my advice to you, I said. While you're in Brazil, don't let any scenes into your story that will interfere with the beauty of the climactic scene you are heading toward when you are married and having your child. You'll have to make some choices. When those choices come up, picture that scene unfolding, and if you're about to do anything you'll regret, walk away. Let nothing interfere with the beauty of your future climactic scene. And with those boundaries, have a blast in Brazil. At the end of this season, what kinds of things will you wish you had done? What kinds of things will you wish maybe you had avoided? What kind of person will you want to be at the end of this pandemic? How will you have wished you were a blessing to others during this time? Others who are going through just as much, if not more, strain and stress than you are. Prayerfully consider this. Invite the Holy Spirit of God into this process, and with his strength, start working towards those goals. Andy Stanley has a line that I like. He says, direction, not intention, determines destination. Direction, not intention, determines destination. It doesn't matter what you want to do, or who you want to be if your life is not moving in the direction of those things. So friends, don't waste this season. Don't waste this crisis. Consider the end and start moving in the right direction. God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll join us again next week.